What would happen if you combined Krisk with the Krizia? That's right, you would get the brand new Void Legendary Graazur Irongut. Let's look into this. What up, team? MurderInc here, back on the test server, talking about a broken champion. We are talking about Graazur Irongut. So I just said Krisk plus a Krizia. PvE God? I think so. Let's look at what this guy does. We have an A1 here. First, hold up. Defense base, Ogryn tribes, by the way. Look how mean this guy looks. You want this. I want this. We want this. Okay, so Ogryn, defense base, legendary champion. A1 attacks all enemies, places a shield buff on all allies. A1, by the way, for 1 turn. The value of the shield is proportional to this champion's defense. So defense scaling, very good on an AoE format. A2, healing bombardment. 3-turn cooldown when fully booked, damage based on enemy max health. Attacks all enemy, heals this champion by 10% of the damage dealt. Increases the duration of all buffs on all allies by 1 turn. This whole kit here is better than half of the legendary complete kits that we have in the game. Just this one thing. Enemy max health, increased buff duration, AoE that heals this champion. Like, hello? Okay, anyways, moving on to the A3. Let none pass. 3-turn cooldown when fully booked, 100% chance when fully booked, and AoE attacks all enemies, having a 75 up to 100, like I said, chance of placing provoke debuff for 1 turn. Also, places increased resistance and increased defense on all allies for 2 turns, damage based on defense. Finally, the passive here, whenever this champion is attacked, heals all allies except this champion by 70% of the damage received, only heals by 35% of the damage when attacked by a boss. The effect has no cooldown. Active effect, that we can see the 4-turn cooldown, places unkillable buff on this champion for 1 turn before receiving a fatal hit. Okay, so maybe I forgot a couple champions when I said this is a Krizia and a Krisk. Let's throw in a Vogoth. Let's throw in Leorius. Who else, right? How much better can this guy get? Finally, we have an aura here. Increases defense in all battles by 33%. So this guy's a pumper. But if you haven't realized it already, we're going to talk about the downside of this guy straight away before I start showing you some insane content. So the downside is, this was the hardest champion that I've ever had to build in my life. And I swear, if you've seen my recap video, I have thousands of runs in Fire Knight, Spider, Dragon. I'm not just selling gear. I'm not lacking on accessories for Ogryn tribes just because it's kind of a dead faction as far as who's been good from that faction. I'm saying this guy is difficult. Why is he difficult? Let's talk about that really quickly. But before we do, we have to talk about the base stats of the champion. 102 base speed, low percent of crit damage, which makes him harder to build. We have 40 base res, 20 base accuracy, 18.6 thousand HP, attack doesn't matter, defense 1321. So not too bad. Now, why is this champion hard to build? Okay, so we're going to be using him in Hydra. That's the obvious place to use this champion. You need accuracy, you need resistance, you need crit damage, you need crit rate, and you need speed, and you have to scale your enemy max health with defense. But oh no, don't forget, you also need health so you don't crumble like the champion is made of paper. That's a lot. So let's just look at it this way. Usually when you're building a champion, you pick one of the stats above, right? HP usually comes secondary because other champions can kind of alleviate some of that pressure. Okay, maybe let's say the same thing applies to this guy. Then you stack a base stat. So defense, attack, HP, win-win. That's one less stat here. Then you need speed. Okay, let's kind of consider speed borderline. Crit rate. Not every champion and most champions don't need crit rate unless they're here to deal damage. Usually, the champions you have dealing damage aren't stacking resistance and they aren't stacking accuracy. This guy is the exception here. So, getting all of these stats to a Nightmare Hydra level in Savage gear proved very difficult for me personally. Do I think most players who get this champion are going to be doing this? Absolutely not. There's just no way. Regen gear is a good option. Throw on crit damage if you want to boost a little bit of extra damage for the enemy max health, pumping up those numbers a little bit. But first of all, let's take a look at what I did just to test this out. I took Krisk out of my main team, threw this guy in here, put it on auto, closed my eyes, and waited for the recap screen. Let's take a look at that together. Alright, so as you can see here, and I did watch the run, I just closed my eyes for effect here. 31.53 million damage, full auto Hydra Nightmare. Why is this surprising? Okay, first thing, the team with Krisk is in full auto. Why is it not full auto? Because Geomancer, right? If a head gets decapitated, for some reason, Geomancer wants to target that head with the HP burn, which loses tons of value. So, same thing can be said for any champion that gets devoured, and Geomancer is just not going to target the head with that's marked, that you have to break that small shield to free your champion, so on and so forth. On top of that, I got 3% 2 times during this run. What do I mean by that? Let's talk about my issues with Oella and increased resistance, just baseline. If it gets stolen and it gets applied to the Hydra heads and then spread, it's not looking good. That happened 2 times in this run, and I didn't wipe, thankfully. I lost a few people, but I didn't wipe. So this run had so many things going poorly for it, and Graazur still did 12 million damage compared to Royal Guard, Geomancer, Husk. Like I said, the 3 of those champions' damage and even Graazur's damage was lower because I wasn't getting defense down. I wasn't getting all of the other buffs you need, and they had increased defense on all of the Hydra heads 2 different times. So with that being said, incredible. This is way more damage than I've been getting with Krisk on full auto. Now, getting back to reality, let's head into the Hydra so you can see this absolute madness for yourself. So what we're going to do is we're not going to start on auto. We're going to put it on auto, we're not going to start on auto, okay? We got Duchess doing Duchess things. Let's put that defense down. We do have Head of Decay, which could be an issue. We're not going to let it be an issue, but it could be an issue. And let's just put this on Head of Decay. Now I have 2 options here. I can go for the big enemy max health with Husk, or I can go for the A1 Provoke. What are we going to do? You already know the A1 Provoke. And we got an extra turn. Thanks for that, Plarium. You knew I was recording. Bam. A big damage. So we're doing good here. Next, we're not going to use our Provoke on a Graazur. We're going to use that the next turn to continue to cycle on this Head of Decay here. So let's go ahead. Bam. Enemy max health. Pumping damage. Absolutely pumping damage. You love to see it. Now, let's just hit auto and watch this team cook, shall we? So we're going to be doing damage here. Like I said, the buffs got stolen there. Thankfully, not all of them, and we have block buffs up. If you're running this guy in your team, you have to consider, you really always have to consider that if you're not running block buffs on the Hydra heads, you could really, really be in trouble. Because like I said, 3% exists for some ungodly reason in this game. Don't ask me why, I have no idea, but they decided to keep it, so it is what it is. Now, this new legendary is pumping. He has amazing mechanics, and his Vogoth effect, it's truly incredible. It really is. I'm thoroughly impressed with this kit. I don't think he's too OP because it's PvE, it's not PvP. He is a Void legendary. He's one of the first ones in quite some time that actually, in my opinion, fits the strength of a Void legendary. Of course, we had Marichka and Terrace, very strong. No one's ever going to deny that. But this guy is also crazy, crazy strong. So as we can see here, we're about 8 million damage in here. Things are going smooth. We have a Provoke on the boss from this guy. Added benefit for sure here. And we are just pumping away. The fact that this is so semi-consistent in a full auto, I mean, yes, we did manual at the start there just to kind of get things rolling here, but It just works so well. It's fun to watch. This champion, I mean, look at the damage he's pumping out right now, right? So he's just doing incredible damage here. His healing is off the charts here. And I look forward to what the final numbers are going to be at the end of this run here. And every time his health gets a little bit low like this, he's going to use his ability that AoEs everybody and full heals, like we just saw right there. So really strong here. You have the synergy of increased defense, increased resistance on your whole team. Of course, there we go. We just did see the Head of Mischief steal everything. This is why we also bring block buffs here. And now we have double buffs, so we do have to manually click on this. And of course, Head of Mischief cannot be targeted, and he has block debuffs on him, so good luck. Pretty much anyone trying to do anything against this. I don't know. We'll see if I get lucky. Who knows? We really need Geomancer to kind of start pumping here. We have 4 turns. 4 turns should be enough to get this done, being completely honest. Okay, and of course he stole block buffs again just to make things that much more complicated here. Gets resisted because why not? Okay, 2 turns left to break this guy out for any chance of anything here. Redirected when he went to steal the buffs, and now he restole block buff. So this run is looking pretty scuffed because we're about to lose the champion that is the highlight of the show. So let's see what happens here. Okay, perfect, just in time. That was pretty scary, not gonna lie, but we've recovered. Everything's fine. We're on our way. 16 million damage, still very far from a 1 key, by the way, and I understand that. You might be thinking MurderInc does 100 million damage in Hydra. You have the Ghost Rider champ Michiniki, or however the hell you say his name, that does 50 million. The thing is, those comps are made for those champions. They're speed tuned for those champions. This isn't a speed tuned team. I never run speed tuned teams for Hydra. I build these champions for other areas of the game and then throw them into the Hydra, and they just work. They do 1 key. Like I said, I'm not able to, unfortunately, fully manual these runs, and by fully manual, of course, I mean fully auto these runs. There is a decent bit of manual because some of the champions I use aren't the best. I could probably use the Ghost Rider champion. I do have him instead of anyone else here. This guy's getting really close to dying, and as we can see, he procced the unkillable. So there's that first savior, cheat death, whatever you want to call it, that did come in handy here. And like I said, we're still going strong. We're on turn 70, 20.5 million damage. The sky really is the limit with this champion and team composition. You don't need a Duchess. It's definitely not optimal to run triple enemy max health. I would probably rather run another instant HP burn champion. Why would I want to do that? Because when you run, as we can see here, the buffs are getting stolen because the resistance isn't the highest, and it's hard to get resistance high enough on champions like Royal Guard and Husk. If I swap those around, they stop stealing the buffs as often as we currently see now. Even though I do have what's her face, hopefully we can break the shield. We have 1 turn left. Let's click on it just to be safe here. Let's save Geomancer. Extra turn, Pog. Use Despair, easy. Okay, sorry I got sidetracked there. So as I was saying, once you don't have to build 100% crit rate and crit damage on your champion, you can focus more on resistance, make it more fleshed out with a team like this, and the team's just going to run much, much smoother. And of course, the fact that our Husk is currently using Relentless gear isn't going to be optimal on a champion paired with Graazur here. That's going to apply increased defense and increased resistance to the entire team. You really just don't want it. So again, we have our head consumed here, so we want to swap over to the target in question. 1 turn left to break him out. Let's see what we can do. Block debuffs just applied, not looking great. Okay, we're getting so many extra turns. Maybe I will take back my statement. I mean, for this run particularly, it's fine to run what we're running, but we might be passing the 31.53 million first try auto that we had. That was a 3%. I know for a fact Duchess has like, I don't know, 600 resistance plus the increased resistance buff on her. So I don't know. This is, like I said, my biggest issue with Oella. This is another issue that I would have with this champion, but His kit's just so good. It's hard to be mad and say, well, increased resistance is flawed because if you get 3%, then you're doomed. You are doomed no matter what team you're running. If you do get increased resistance stolen, your next 2 turns at least per champion are going to be pretty much negative damage no matter what you do. But if you can kind of overcome the 3% and it's not going to ruin your run, because let's be honest, half the screenshots I see of teams, they're like 40 minutes, 50 minutes, 30 minutes, that's a long time. So if you're getting 20 minutes into a run, having the buff stolen and it wipes your team because of it and you fall short of your goal, that's really not going to be a good time. Okay, so now we have to target the head on the right here. Do we have enough damage? That's the question. We don't. Okay, so our champion got digested. Let's hit the free regroup. Oh, I didn't want to see that. I wanted to see the total damage. Okay, so one thing, I'm going to go back to the previous image one more time really quickly. One thing to note here, consider the fact that Royal Guard, Husk are constantly dying, right? What does that mean? That means Duchess is applying continuous heal every time they die. The next thing, keep in mind that Hugo has an AoE heal and cleanse on a 3-turn cooldown. Look at their healing compared to the damage dealing beast that is known as Graazur. Just think about it. We're not using lifesteal gear, so we're not padding in that sense. We are self-healing a ton with the AoEs, but getting hit and healing our allies is huge. There's no way around it. It is a huge effect for the entire team here. So that's the breakdown of the new champion. I mean, there are other places we can try this guy, sure. Are they going to be as standout as Hydra? Probably not. As far as building him, gear-wise, what should you do? What should you do? Like I said, I would not recommend trying to put this guy in Savage gear. It's going to put so much stress on your gear, and you have much better places to use it, trust me. So ideally, you probably won't need self-healing unless you don't have a lot of supports on your team. Duchess paired with this guy is a really safe duo. So if you don't have Duchess, Rector Drath, Godseeker and Neri, great pair. I mean, I'm not going to list every reviver in the game, but if it makes sense, it makes sense. If you don't have a champion like that, the AoE heal that this guy does on the A2 ability once every 3 turns may not be enough to keep him topped off, so you might want to heavily consider regeneration gear. If not, you can go straight for the stats you're looking for pretty much. So HP, defense, speed, crit rate gear if you need it, whatever you need to do to get this guy built properly, use the set bonuses to your advantage. Alright, so that's the new legendary. Let me know what you guys think. There's really not a lot to say. This guy is crazy strong. He looks amazing. There's just so many positives here. So with that being said, that's going to conclude this video. If you enjoyed this content, smash that like button, subscribe, turn the notification bell, and I will see you all in the next upload.